Hey everybody, this is Sarah Spencer with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and this is Know Your Dogs. They're already starting to line the field behind me at Sanford Stadium, and today's episode is going to be a preview of Georgia's home opener against Samford on Saturday. I'll be joined by my colleague, Chip Towers, our Georgia beat writer, Georgia coach Kirby Smart, AD Mitchell, and Kendall Milton. So stay tuned and be sure to watch Know Your Dogs. Now, I know what you guys are going to think when you see this first clip. If Georgia coach Kirby Smart is complaining that Tuesday's practice was one of the worst of the entire year, Georgia just smacked Oregon in its season opener, moved up to number 2 in the AP poll, and plays FCS opponent Samford this Saturday. Could that really just be Kirby Smart trying to motivate these guys? According to Kirby Smart, no, it was actually just that bad.
It wasn't the tempo that I expect, and we talk about playing to a standard, you know, like there's a standard at Georgia, and the number one thing you do at our place is you go out on Tuesday and you practice really physical if you're going to be any good. And we tried to practice physical. We had some guys just didn't bring their own juice today, and they need to do that tomorrow. I'm just telling you the truth. That's all I come in here and do, give you truth. Truth is we didn't practice real good today, so I can make up 1,000 reasons why, but I don't know why. And I don't know what it's going to take tomorrow or the next day. I'm going to worry about today, and then I'm going to go out there tomorrow and worry about tomorrow.
Now, I see what Smart is saying there, but at the same time, this is the home opener for Georgia, so hopefully that gives the guys a little juice. One guy who had plenty of juice in Georgia's season opener was quarterback Stetson Bennett, who passed for a career-best 368 yards. One of the guys who benefited from that stellar performance by Stetson Bennett, sophomore wide receiver AD Mitchell. 1 touchdown and some amazing downfield blocking. I asked him at Georgia's practice just how impressed was he with Stetson. I'm sure you're used to seeing those kind of performances from Stetson at this point, but how impressed were you with what he was able to do against Oregon?
I kind of expected it. He's, we going into, this is his 3rd year with Coach Monkey. Yeah, so he looked extremely comfortable. He looked like he was in full control, and it felt like he was. So, it was something.
Even though Georgia's playing an FCS opponent in Samford, both AD Mitchell and Kendall Milton said they're approaching preparation for this game like they would any other opponent. AD Mitchell actually said he's approaching it like it might as well be the national championship.
Coach Kirby been preaching, hold on, let me get it. The standard doesn't need motivation. So, we kind of just been embracing that, saying, he says it. He done said it every team meeting this week. So, we just all buying in, and it's all about preparation at the end of the day. We just preparing how we would the national championship game.
It's definitely been the same type of vibe, like we're, playing Oregon or playing any other team. It's the same approach. One thing that we've kind of been focusing on is at the end of the day, we have to uphold our standard as Georgia. We can't, look any other way. We have to make it our job to keep the standard alive and keep those physical Tuesday, Wednesday practices, because at the end of the day, those practices are what build Georgia football. Those, we call it Bloody Tuesdays, and, we come out there and it's just bloodbath, team run, and periods like that. Those are periods that, build Georgia football. So we're still attacking this week, and, every day we're practicing hard because, we want to be the best team, and I believe that we have everything we need, the players, the coaches, and, we trust the coaches to, make that happen. So we're just taking this, hungry as ever.
So we spoke with Milton after practice on Wednesday, and he said even though he's battled injuries for a lot of his career at Georgia, he's finally healthy and eager to contribute.
Yeah, it's meant the world to me, especially in the past, with the knee injuries. During those times of being out, it was kind of hard, but they just always let me know, just keep your head up. Your time's gonna come, and that's what I did. I just kept my head down, just kept working, kept doing what I needed to do to get back on the field, and I'm just happy that I could be in big moments with my teammates.
All right, y'all, I'm joined by my colleague Chip Towers, our Georgia beat writer. We're here at Sanford Stadium previewing Georgia's home opener against Samford this Saturday. Chip, a lot of people might not know the connection that Georgia coach Kirby Smart has with Samford.
Yeah, well, Georgia fans pretty much can thank Chris Hatcher for Kirby Smart being their coach, because, I don't know whether he would be in coaching or not, but that was the first job that he got. Actually, Will Muschamp was down there at Valdosta State as Chris Hatcher's defensive coordinator, and they needed a defensive backfields coach. And Will Muschamp's like, I know a guy I used to play with at Georgia.
Some guy named Kirby Smart.
Yeah, and so Chris Hatcher hired him, and he was there a couple of years before he took off to, all those other places he ended up: LSU, Miami Dolphins, Alabama, and then finally the University of Georgia.
So Chip, the line I think is at about 52, hovering around there. It seems like whether it's Vegas, maybe us, everyone watching this video is expecting a big blowout. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, they're an FCS program versus a Power 5, one of the top 2 or 3 programs in America right now in the University of Georgia. But, truthfully, if you think about it, yes, there's a little bit of respect with that 52-point line. They just beat Oregon by 46.
Yeah, that margin was 46 points.
Yeah, so they're showing a little respect there. Georgia playing at home against a Samford team that, it's a kind of team that does kind of give you a little bit of trouble to defend.
Now let's break down Samford for those who maybe don't know. What is their strength? It seems like they really like to throw it.
Well, it's offense when you think of Chris Hatcher. I mean, this is really the air raid offense that you see under Mike Leach, that you've seen under Hal Mumme over the years. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean throw it all over the place. It means spread it out and go fast, and that's what they do. And typically, they're going to score. I mean, that's I'm sure we'll hear from Kirby afterward about they weren't exactly expecting another shutout necessarily, but really holding these guys out of the end zone would be one heck of an accomplishment.
2 guys who really, really impressed me, at least, in that dominant win over Oregon were 2 defensive backs, one senior, Chris Smith, and then one freshman, Malachi Starks. Given what we just talked about, how much Samford likes to throw and spread it out, how much of a challenge or how much are they going to make this Georgia secondary work?
Yeah, that entire secondary, even more than Oregon, I think will be tested in this game, and they came through with flying colors. Obviously, Malachi Starks, unbelievable interception.
Way to start your career.
The freshman from Jefferson, ends up landing on his back, holding on to that ball. Chris Smith made all kinds of plays, but Georgia's really feeling good about their secondary. Keely Ringo, coming back in that cornerback spot, and Kamari Lassiter really playing strong so far early on. They're switching around a lot at the nickel spot, and I think you'll see 5 or 6 defensive backs on the field almost every down in this game.
Keely Ringo, one of just 3 returning starters for Georgia's defense, but the defenses look pretty stacked yet again. Let's talk Stetson Bennett, another returning starter, but on the offense, obviously, at quarterback. Walter Camp, Offensive Player of the Week. Just, again, I don't know how many times I can say the word dominant, but that's exactly what that performance against Oregon was. Do you think maybe some of the narrative has started to shift with Stetson Bennett a little bit? Because he's perennially maybe underestimated, it seems like.
Yeah, I think he has. I mean, you can certainly see it in his Heisman odds. They plummeted or whatever. They're smaller now. They were very high for him to win the Heisman Trophy. They went down to a very reasonable level after his performance last week, and all that was 81% completion percentage, 368 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 8 for 8, on scoring possessions, 7 for 7, 8 for 8 on 3rd down. So you really physically couldn't have played any better than Stetson Bennett did. And he is rewriting his narrative. I go back to Mel Tucker, who was the first one to bring up Stetson Bennett as he got the Bulldogs ready for the Rose Bowl out in California against Oklahoma. And
with Baker Mayfield.
And he was like, how is the question was, how are y'all looking getting ready for Baker Mayfield in that offense? He said, well, not that great. We've got a quarterback, by the name of Stetson Bennett, and he's giving us fits in practice. Well, maybe that's what Georgia has in Stetson Bennett. Maybe they have a Baker Mayfield or a Drew Brees, or if you want to make some kind of comparison like that. I think the narrative of,
the walk-on,
the
little engine that could.
That's right. I think we're going to have to dispense with that pretty soon.
Chip, thank you so much for joining me and helping me break down this Samford game. Thank all of you for watching. Make sure you go to ajc.com to look for more of our coverage.